Broadcasting live from somewhere in the great upper Midwest and beaming directly to you worldwide. This is Night Talks Radio.
Want more Night Talks? We have you covered. Check us out on Facebook and Twitter at Night Talks Radio for bold and truthful commentary, breaking news, show updates, program guest information, and so much more. And hey, thanks for listening.
Streaming to you live from Spreaker.com and somewhere deep in the great upper Midwest. If you're ready for a ride, you can call NTR anytime by dialing the nationwide caller line at 1-507-384-9390. First-time callers can reach Night Talks Radio at 1-507-307-4424. Text Daniel and NTR exclusively at 1-218-689-7126. Now, from somewhere in the great upper Midwest, here's your hosts, Daniel Brewer and Jennifer Gregerson.
I don't know why, folks, but I absolutely love that song. Definitely one of our favorites here at NTR. But let's get started, folks. From the great upper Midwest, coast to coast, and nationwide, around the world online, this is another edition, a Season 2, Episode 1 edition of Night Talks Radio. That's right, folks. Season 2, Episode 1. Those words did come out of my mouth. You're probably saying to yourself, well, that was supposed to be Friday, July 1st. And then again, it was supposed to be Saturday, July 2nd. Well, if you're familiar with the show, we are kicked around more than a soccer ball at a World Cup event. So things unfortunately did not go our way, which indeed made us upset, sad. We had some really good stuff for you, but don't worry, we will have those specific topics and subjects back on the show this season. And of course, the White House will return as well, as we were unable to get their new hit single, Heat, out for NTR New Music Now, Friday and Saturday night. But tonight, we make up for all of it, folks. We hit the giant reset button. And by doing so, magically, a fan favorite here at the broadcast, Jennifer Alvarado, has popped up and will be here not only as the NTR New Music Now musical artist, but she is here for some interviewing. That's right, folks. Jennifer Alvarado will be our guest on the show tonight. Gonna be a 2 for 2, so to speak. We get to speak to Jennifer and we get to hear her wonderful music, her new track, Rock This Way. But quickly, Jennifer and her husband Josh, who unfortunately may or may not be with us tonight because he is currently sick and simply does not have the ability to do a radio broadcast at this point. So we'd like to wish Josh a very sincere get well soon, my friend. But as I was saying, Jennifer and Josh have both experienced, for quite some time now, paranormal activity. Both Josh and Jennifer have experienced this paranormal activity from the very start, when they were extremely young. But it wasn't until a final message from her grandmother that Jennifer loved greatly that would change both of their lives forever. Shortly after receiving the message, for the first time, Josh and Jennifer would meet, and their eyes met, and the connection was unbelievable. Not to mention, the experiences of paranormal activity were similar, and the interest into finding answers through the dark realm only grew stronger. So tonight, Jennifer will share those experiences with us. And due to Josh being ill, she will also tell the listeners about Josh's stories as well. And as mentioned earlier, Jennifer will also be dropping her new hit single, Rock This Way, on NTR New Music Now, shortly after Hour 1. And heading into Hour 2, Jennifer will be talking about the music industry, things that she has achieved, and how she got to where she is now, which is on the edge of being the next super sensational country pop artist. And as well as talking about Jennifer's spiritual beliefs, heaven and hell, and much more having to do with her beliefs. Folks, it's going to be an outstanding show on this magnificent Minnesota evening. Again, we have the wonderful Jennifer Alvarado with us tonight, not only as a New Music Now artist, but as we stated, the guest for this evening's show. And if you have any questions for Jennifer, you can call us at the nationwide call-in line, which is 1-507-384-9390. Or first-time callers can call us at 1-507-307-4424. And of course, the chat room will be open if you have questions and you are slightly afraid to go on live radio. We will pass along any questions or comments or thoughts to Jennifer, and hopefully we can get them answered for you. All that said, we got a great show coming up tonight, folks. Down South Paranormal is the name of Episode 1, Season 2, the Summer Nights series. So sit back, turn the radio up, and allow your ear holes to be entertained. Jennifer Alvarado is up next on NTR. We'll be right back. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Season 2, Episode 1, Down South Paranormal. with Jennifer Alvarado. She will also be our NTR New Music Now musical artist tonight for the second time with her new hit single, Rock This Way. But first and foremost, we're going to be talking about her paranormal experiences, dating all the way back to her young days, so to speak. Now, long overdue. Let's get Jennifer on the phone line. Jennifer, are you there?
I am.
Jennifer, how you doing tonight?
I'm okay. How are you?
Oh, not too bad. Enjoying some decent weather finally up here in Minnesota. At least we're not frying like an egg on the ground. It was about 110 degrees a week or so ago, but we're back in the...
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we're back in the lower 80s, so it's essentially wintertime for us now. But, yeah, and, first and foremost, I want to say, to Josh, I hope he gets better very soon. I really was hoping that he'd be on the program as well, but I totally understand what he's going through. So we all wish him to get better as soon as possible. Okay, but we are here to speak about a multitude of things. First off, we'll be talking about your paranormal experiences throughout your life. Jennifer, do you have the first question for her?
I do. Hello, Jennifer. How are you today?
I'm good.
Wonderful, wonderful. First of all, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, like where you are from and what you do?
Yeah. So I'm Jennifer Alvarado. I am from North Carolina. I'm a singer-songwriter and recording artist. I started out with Christian music back in 2015, and during the pandemic, I decided to start releasing my country secular stuff just because I had so many songs that were just kind of sitting there.
Right.
But I never wanted to take the plunge because I was just fearful, and I think the pandemic, if nothing else, made a lot of people reevaluate what they're doing in their lives.
Without question.
That was... Yeah, and so I had been furloughed, and I was at home for a period of about 6 weeks, and I need to do something with my time. So that's what I started doing, was releasing the secular stuff. And I apologize. I think I have whatever Josh has. And so
you know what? Jennifer did mention that. That's quite okay. Yeah, if you need time to drink water, or what particularly helps with me is drinking something fizzy when my throat's like that. So, yeah, we don't mind that at all if you have to take a pause to get a drink or anything like that. So
just take your time,
Yeah, absolutely. Take your time.
But yeah, so I started releasing the songs, and I kind of, I had come out of a place where I had a couple really rough years as far as music goes, and I was sort of at that place of, do I just stop this altogether and, kind of, I make it a hobby and that's it. And so I I felt like I needed to give it just one final, nail in the coffin push.
Right.
And I contacted an internet station, Indie Star Radio, and actually sent them my music, and I was sort of like, okay, if they accept it and they like it, maybe we'll revisit this. But if they don't accept it, this is it. This is done.
Right.
And long story short, I was their country artist of the year last year, and
really?
Wow.
yeah, the music stuff has just kind of continued to go. And so I stepped away from. I had been working as the director of the community center for a women's shelter. And so I stepped away from doing that full time, and went full time back into music and worship ministry. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Real
Wow.
quick, I just if I could interject, you're real big in the community as far as charity and things like that. Is that correct?
I am. I mean, I like to volunteer. I've always liked to volunteer and be part of just anything that is trying to help this world be a better place. So yeah, I still I work with the Celebrate Recovery Ministry on Friday nights,
Okay.
and I've been doing that since 2013.
Wow.
And then while I was at the rescue mission for the women, we started a 12-step program there as well, and so I still teach that and help with that some, and just trying to keep involvement with different organizations and stuff like that, and give back any way I can. And so
Absolutely.
my focus has always been pretty much with recovery ministry. That's really what has always spoken to my heart.
That's
that's
that is
amazing.
extremely admirable.
Yeah, that is.
Without question.
Well, we can talk more about that definitely on the second half if you feel like it, and stuff like
yeah,
that.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Get
Yeah,
names out
definitely.
there and things, of that nature.
Because I'm sure maybe the audience might have some questions they want to ask and all that stuff.
I'll tell you what. In 2022, I've noticed that people becoming charitable, realizing that people are struggling for a multitude of reasons. They're helping more. They're making their presence known.
They are.
So if we take Jennifer for example, just one of many people that are coming forward and giving back to the community or helping or doing whatever they can. For instance, not even our government is doing that.
No.
You know what
No.
I mean? So
No, I started helping. It was Hurricane Katrina that really got me, and I mean it was just a little something.
Yeah.
I didn't have much to
it makes you
to
feel
begin
good.
with or anything like that, but I had a good 6 or 7 boxes of my children's clothes that we no longer had, any use for. So I donated all
Right.
of those clothes over to Hurricane Katrina. I felt good about it, and ever since then, I tried to donate, whatever I could donate if I was able to at the time,
It's good for the soul.
Right.
That's essentially what
Exactly.
it's good for the soul.
Yeah.
And Jennifer, back to the
Right.
topics that we were speaking about. Now you said you started your experiences with the paranormal at a very young age. Can you tell our listeners how old were you exactly, and what actually occurred?
Yeah, so when I was really little, I think I was around 4. But my parents had a house. It's a 3-story house, but connecting the second floor with the top
okay.
floor with the main floor is a spiral staircase. And my father he was out of town on business.
Okay.
And I can remember being on the stairs, probably about halfway up the stairs, and the way the spiral staircase was, especially with my height at that time, you couldn't see fully down the stairs to see what was at the bottom of the stairs. And so you could
Okay.
kind of see what was moving around the staircase.
Understood.
And I can remember I thought it was him. I thought he had come home. I was, talking to someone or something and said, hey, and all that. And I remember my mom asking me, who are you talking to? And I said, Dad, he's home. And, of course, she immediately, freaks out, gets me upstairs, goes and
Right.
to the room, to their bedroom, and gets the gun and all that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
and there was nothing there, but I remember seeing a dark mass down at the bottom of the stairs and
Right.
talking to something. So yeah, it was one of those things I can just remember well, what was that? And so I think that's part of what kind of sparked my curiosity with just I can remember being 7 years old and having a book that it was something like a person's guide to ghost hunting or something.
Okay.
And it told you how to have a ghost hunter's, I guess, kit, so that you could walk around and find ghosts. And
Right,
so, like,
right.
I've just always wondered, like, what was that? Like, there's got to be something else out there, that kind of thing.
Right.
So how did you feel? Were you really scared or more confused? And
Yeah.
And did you pick up any other different talents as you got older, like maybe ability to speak to them
There
or
you go.
even hear them?
So, I mean, as far as what I felt back then, I think I was just more confused. Like, I didn't understand, and I didn't understand why she was freaked out. And so it was one of those things. And then when she freaked out, of course, like, you get scared because, if you see your parents freaked out, you get freaked out.
Exactly.
So I think it was one of those things. But, yeah, I mean, it was more of a curiosity. It was more of, like, I was never necessarily afraid of anything like that. I wanted to understand. I wanted to know if there really was something, or, if what everybody claims is real, or is it
Right.
made up? What's the deal? And so, and also I was like really into like horror movies as a kid and all that kind of stuff. And so then you see that and you wonder, okay, like, is this all
Yeah,
make believe? And so,
Yeah, go ahead. Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, that was more of what it was. It was that curiosity for me of, like, trying to figure out what's real and what's not. And as I got older, as far as, like, talking to anything or seeing stuff, no, not that I can remember. I will say I used to have dreams when I was little.
Okay.
And so I remember when I was about 10, my grandmother that passed away, my father had come to pick me up from school, and we were driving down the road, and I'd had a dream a couple weeks before maybe, of just something happening to her. And so when we were going down the road, she was the one that was supposed to come get me from school, and so I asked him, I said, why didn't she come? And he said, well, she wasn't feeling well. And I just immediately started asking him, is she afraid of dying?
Oh.
And, we had this whole conversation. And I remember we got to their office building, and his secretary came running out and said, hey, you need to go to her house, like, right now, and you need to leave her here.
Oh, my God.
And I just, I knew she had passed away.
Oh, no.
And so, yeah, I had a few of those type incidents happen with, dreams when I was little, and then, it would happen. And so at one point, I think I did get a little freaked out just with dreams and stuff that would happen in dreams, thinking that it was a premonition of something going to happen.
Well, real quick, you say you had these dreams. Were they more what you would typically think dreams would be, like nightmares, or were they more like night terrors?
I would say more nightmares.
Nightmares.
I mean,
okay.
I've had night terrors. I remember, when I had gotten my wisdom teeth taken out and hydrocodone, or codone, whichever one it was that I was on.
Yeah,
and
the
don't deal
painkillers
well with.
and such. Yeah, they will definitely put you into a different world. That's for sure.
Yeah. So yes, those were night terrors. So I think it was more dreams and just nightmares. I think more than anything.
Okay, totally understood.
It could very well have been too, is like an intuition type thing, because I've had a sense, this was a long time ago. This was when I was married at the time, and I told my husband, this was on Thanksgiving, I told my husband that, I got to go see Grandma. And she was up at the nursing home at the time. And he goes, no.
Strangely familiar.
No, you cannot. You don't need to see your Grandma, He says, well, call her as soon as we get home. We got to hurry up and get home. Because he was always, in a hurry all the time. We got to get home, type thing. And so when I got home, and I probably had the dream, let's say, about 3:30. When I got home at 4 o'clock on my voicemail, it was that Grandma had passed away.
See, that's
So yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, it's just it's the universe kind of giving us intuition in a way.
To me, it's super. You know, I'm just going to be honest. It's
to that person. You've got an intuition about that person.
Right. To me, though, for instance, you know, I'm just going to be honest. It's pretty creepy to hear from you guys, because I've never really experienced that. Now, don't get me wrong, I've experienced other things involving the paranormal.
Right.
Okay, I mean, I could sit here for hours and tell you about the stories that have freaked me out, but I've never had that specifically happen to me. So hearing that is something completely different and quite spooky, to be honest, to me. So, you know, speaking of, you know, abilities and things like that, do you know of anyone in your family, perhaps like distance ancestry or anything like that, that might have special traits to see the unknown? Generally, you know, it tends to run through the family. So is there anybody else that you know in your family that has these type of things happen to them or anything like that?
I mean, I think my father probably has, and I think his mom, my grandmother, did to some degree. Not the one that passed away when I was 10, but I mean, he told me about some things. But again, I don't know, and I think for me, I've never thought about it as being. I don't know. Like I guess because I never really dove into it or anything, it was just something that happened. Right. And so for me, I see it as more of a sense of having discernment over situations and having discernment over people, because just like I can remember when I was little, I would have dreams about certain people I needed to stay away from or whatever, and then I would see them out in public. And so with that said, like I think that's more of just like a gift of discernment, if anything.
Right. Totally understandable. I mean, you know, like for me, for example, you know, I have, you know, I feel that I have the ability to, like a sixth sense to sense who is, you know, a good person or a bad person. Yeah. And you know, with you being with me. My Jennifer being with me for 8 years now, I think I've proven that several times now. Yeah. I just know almost instantaneously. Even just talking to somebody for a brief period of time, I instantly know what they're all about. I can. It's almost like I can read their minds or see right through them. So, which has been actually quite beneficial for us, to be honest. But Jennifer, I'm sorry, you had a question?
No, I mean, it's just that. You know, you're so right. I mean, everyone has that ability. We all have that ability in us, and that's part of being connected with God, the source, is we all have this ability. And I don't know if you believe so much in the spirituality aspects of the channeling and the psychic and all that stuff, but if you speak to a lot of them, and a lot of the research is out there, you know, too. It states way back, you know, in history, and we all seem to have this kind of ability to even, you know, feel things or see things or even like channel things or
the
whatever.
The problem
is have to believe, and it's a way of being connected to the source. It's a way of being connected to God.
Well, here's the deal, just really quick, if I could. It's the fact that so many people are afraid to come forward with this type of information about the paranormal or about UFOs or UAPs or, you know, conspiracy theories, whatever have you, that there's at least 65 to 70% of people out there in the population that literally have not come forward, that know so many things, you know. So we need more people like you, Jennifer. I mean, it's honestly, you know, we have to find the ability as a people to get these things in the open. You know, there's so much that needs to be in the open nowadays, and this is particularly one of them.
Yeah, exactly. Now, my dear, other things than the paranormal, you know, have you experienced any other things other than the paranormal, like, let's say, dynamic or angels or even the ET? Because a lot of people that tend to experience things, sometimes it's the paranormal that come to them first, and then after that, it's other things that kind of follow.
True.
So for me, like, there was that when I was little, and then when my grandmother was in the hospital, my other grandmother, I was with her the last week of her life, the last week and a half, and the last week of her life, she was kind of in and out of just clarity, and she was having dementia spells and all that kind of stuff, because her body was shutting down. And you know, when I was in the hospital with her, she would basically she had gone from like childhood all the way back up to where she was talking to me in the present day. And but while she was doing that, she would introduce me to people, and of course, like, you know, I couldn't see them, and and so she would be talking to her dad, or she would be talking to people that I know had passed years upon years before I was even born. And she would introduce me to them, and she was very adamant that they were standing there in the room with us. And I think it was either the day before she passed away or the day she did pass away, but she was sitting there and she was talking to me, and she mentioned my papaw. And my papaw had died when I was about 9. So that was, and at this point I'm 21. So, I mean, it had been a while. And so she was talking about him, and I said, Manny, you know, he passed away. He's gone. And she just looked at me as, you know, straight as she could, and she was like, no, nobody dies. Like, and she even said, like, he's standing right there, and pointed next to me.
Really?
And, I was just sort of like, okay. And, that, you know, that same day, like, we were talking, and she started listing out all my, you know, little boyfriends from, you know, really early age to the present. And she mentioned somebody that I cannot recall the name because I didn't know it, and so I thought she was confused again. And so, but it was the last name that she mentioned, and then she started talking about a wedding dress, and the nurse was sitting there with me, and I didn't pick up on it, and the nurse said, she sees you getting married, like, she sees you in your dress, because she was talking about, you have this white dress, and she was kind of describing it to me and all that kind of stuff. And I thought she was just out of it. But then when the nurse said that, I said, do you see me getting married? And she was like, yeah. And she said, you know, I really want to be there.
Wow.
And I just remember saying, you know, you still will be there. Like, but, and she told me, you know, that same day, she said, because she was at that place where she was scared to go to sleep because she didn't know if she would wake back up. And I just remember telling her, like, it's okay, like, what are you afraid of? And she said, I don't want to leave. And I said, I understand, but you don't need to be afraid. And she said, but I don't want to leave you. Like, you're the one I don't want to leave.
Wow.
And, you know, and so I just told her, I said, I'm going to be okay. Like, and that night, it was the day before she passed away, but that night she, like, I had a dream, and she came to me in that dream, and we had a long discussion, and and I told her, you know, it's going to be fine. Like, I'm going to be okay. That you need to rest, and you need to do what you need to do, essentially. And so the next day I went back to the hospital, and we were talking, and it was at that place where she had kind of become quiet with everything. And again, she was kind of fighting sleep, and I said, listen, you can rest. You can go to sleep. It's going to be okay. And she said, I don't want to leave you. And I said, I understand. I said, but you can always come to me in my dreams, and we can always have a talk in our dreams. Mm-hmm. And she gave me this look like she was shocked that I said that, but she knew exactly what I was talking about. And so then that night, I was I had gone to sleep, and you know when you wake up and you're kind of like in that twilight stage of like not knowing if you're asleep or what's going on.
Right,
and,
almost like a paralyzation state, but not really.
Yeah, and so she was there again, and she came into my room essentially and said, I'm going to go now. And so I hugged her by.
Oh my gosh.
And she went back out and closed the door, and when she closed the door, the phone rang. Uh-huh. And so about 2 minutes later, my father came down and opened my door up and said that was the hospital and she had passed.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
You know,
I just
that's...
got goosebumps all over my
yeah,
body.
so do I, because here's the thing that I'm starting to hear from more and more people, and now including Jennifer. When my grandfather was getting ready to pass away, there was my mother, myself, and I believe my aunt at the time around his bed. He was in hospice, so, you know, people would come to the home, you know, to take care of him and things like that. But he would complain to us, you know, every day or so towards the end that he was sick and tired of us standing around him, all around his bed at 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning, not saying anything to him. And we said, well, you know, what did these people supposedly look like? Because it certainly wasn't us. And he said they were nothing more than black silhouettes of what looked like, you know, we human beings. And this happened for a few days, and he said the day of his passing, he said they finally had spoken and said it is time. And that day, he essentially passed away. Not too long after that, after he had told us that. So I have goosebumps like crazy hearing that story. So it's obviously happened to other people. That is very, very strange and unique. So
well, I know when my stepdad passed away, it's like he knew that he was going or something like that, because I told him that I was going to be back it was the weekend, and I had my kids. My older kids had come to visit me.
For sure, they know.
And I told him that I was going to be back on Monday. I would see him on Monday, and I gave him a hug, and I grabbed his hand and squeezed his hand, and that's when he gripped my hand so tight that he just wouldn't let go. And I said, Papa, I gotta go. Oh so I think that was his way of saying, don't leave me. You know, you won't be here for. You know.
Right. Yeah. Jennifer.
Because it was what?
Oh.
It was about an hour later, and I got that call from Jared when I got home.
Yeah. Well, the story. All our stories are quite similar.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying.
They know. I mean, it's a connection. It's a way that we're all kind of. I mean, it's a way the cycle works, I guess. You know that people.
We are all connected.
Ahead of time, and your dreams tell you things too. Excuse me. To a point.
We are simply we're all connected, whether we want to believe it or not. You know, as far as the human race goes, but you know,
we're getting off subject
as
here,
far as we do that, we have kind of stray off, But you know, with the paranormal activity in your life, was this you know, a sort of one-time incident, you know, throughout maybe a couple months or years, or has this literally followed you to present day?
So with those type of incidences, like those were pretty much in the span of like a certain amount of time. So, following like her passing, and I will say this, going back to what you were saying about your grandfather was,
yes.
So a few months before all this actually happened, you have to understand my grandmother was very strong lady, and she's very independent, and she was 94.
Okay.
And she actually had just gone and gotten her new driver's license, and she was so excited because it was going to be 10 years before she had to get a new license.
Okay.
And but I say all that because what had happened was a few months before, so like she passed in October. I think it was like maybe end of April, May. She started telling my mom and I that she would hear music at night. And we were like, okay. And she would swear that somebody was like standing outside her window playing a song. And
really?
I said, okay. And so I finally said one day, what is this song? Because, I don't know, but I was just like, what is the song?
Right.
And she said, Little Brown Church in the Vale, I think is the name of it.
Okay.
And I went home and I looked it up. And the song it's an old hymn, basically, gospel song, but it's talking about Little Brown Church in the Vale basically being called home.
Wow.
And I didn't tell her.
Right.
I looked it up and I was like, I'm not gonna tell her what this song's about. But she remembered it from her childhood. So, but that song, she kept hearing it. And
wow.
So then, like, move forward just a little bit. I think it was in the middle of May.
Okay.
She decided to get up on her counter to hit something down out of the shelf, and she ended up falling.
Oh, my goodness.
And that started, like, all of...
Wow. That's pretty incredible. Moving forward just a little bit here, can you explain to us how you actually met Josh, your husband? Was it say through the same school, or do you think your grandmother's message, which we'll touch on more, had a big influence on that?
So she passed away in October of 2005, and
okay.
Yeah, and so I met Josh in November of 2005, so about a month later. And the one thing that I always noticed about him was his eye color. My grandmother's eye color are very, very similar.
Okay.
It's a odd, I don't know how, that sounds bad. It's not an odd color, but it's...
Right. No, I totally understand what she's saying.
It's always reminded me of her eyes. So... But,
so comforting, basically.
It's a comforting thing.
Okay.
So I was in my senior year of college, and I had two sorority sisters that knew Josh. They worked with him, and so they basically set us up on a blind date because both of us had come out of relationships, and we both were like, we can't stand people, like we don't want to meet each other.
Right.
We're good. We are fine.
Right.
And so they basically set us up, and we went to this restaurant with them thinking we were just hanging out, and he showed up and I showed up, and and so we just, we got along very, very well. And so
you hit it off essentially right off the bat.
Yeah, okay. I mean, very, very quickly, we were just very comfortable with each other. We were able to talk. We had just the same, I think, not backgrounds, because we're very different with our backgrounds, but we have the core values, like, they're very much there. Like, our foundational things are very much there.
Okay.
And so, I mean, we hit it off, and so we went on a date a couple days later, and then a couple weeks later, we decided we were dating, and yeah, so we dated for about 7 years, and we've been married for about 10.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Sticking with your grandmother, then. Now, your grandmother also said that we won't die, or we don't die. What do you think she meant by that?
In my opinion, I think she means that it's not like we just, fall over one day and that's it. Like,
right.
Our energy goes somewhere. I do, especially because of my faith, I do believe that there's a heaven and a hell. I believe that there's a heaven. And so I truly believe that the people that she was introducing me to, my great-grandfather, all of those people, just like you said with your grandfather, that people were surrounding his bed. I think that these people really did come back and try to bridge that gap and make it to where it's not this scary thing.
Right.
As you cross over.
Totally understand.
At least that is what I believe in my heart. And so for me, like that whole, especially that, because she was such a beacon as far as like with my faith and everything. Like I went to church with her when I was little.
Okay.
And she even, one of the last things she gave me was her Bible, and she wanted me to have it, and that's one of my prized possessions, is that Bible. And so I say that just because, like, for me, that whole situation really cemented me in my faith.
Right.
To realize that there's more to just this world. There's more to what our eyes see. And so for me, like, that was really her testimony to me.
Right.
Of faith and realizing that there is more. And I think that's why I very much believe that, this life it's a spiritual battle too, as much as it is just day-to-day stuff. Like, right. We're not just like in Romans, and it says, it's not just about principalities and all this. Like, it's spiritual. It's everything.
Oh, correct.
So,
absolutely.
So, if you don't mind me asking, when did your grandfather pass?
My grandfather passed in, let's see, I would have been 4th grade, so I think it was May of 93.
1993.
Okay.
Wow, that's astonishingly close to my grandfather.
Okay, because I was thinking that maybe that presence that you saw that one time could have been your grandfather, but if it didn't match up with time, then I guess that couldn't have been.
No, my papa, he was one of my favorite people too. No, he didn't pass away until about 5 or 6 years after that.
Oh, okay. So. Okay. Well, I was just trying to make sense of it, and stuff, because if you were able to see that presence at that time, I'm just trying to figure out, why couldn't you see, what she was able to see, unless that was just for her to see too, that could have been too.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
So, do you think all of this unknown encounters gave you more of a push into the fascination of the ghostly presence?
Yeah, I definitely think that. I think that anytime you experience something, let me rephrase that. For me, anytime I experience anything, because I am so analytical, I want to understand the why. I want to know. I've always said that I want a paranormal show because I would go from the standpoint of trying to debunk everything.
Right.
Because
right. Yeah.
I want to show that it's not just like, I don't know, like dramatization and whatever. Like, right. I actually want to say that, okay, I really have no explanation for this. And so I think because of that, yeah, it does. It makes you wonder, well, if it happened in this instance, then, why is it so foreign that it would happen in another instance? So, yeah, definitely. It sparks even more of that wanting to figure things out.
Right. I actually totally understand what you're talking about big time. before going through your journey with Josh and whatnot, I understand Josh also had strange or paranormal activity in his home growing up at a younger age. Can you explain to everyone tonight that experience?
Yeah. So I've already like cleared this with him, and I said, I'm probably gonna like say something wrong, and he just kind of nodded and said, yeah, probably. So
right.
Just know I may leave out details. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But anyway,
right.
So with him, so we live in a small town in North Carolina, and
Okay.
in this area, so we moved back to this town once we got married, and his family's from here. So, and everybody kind of lives close together, and so most of the houses belonged to somebody else in the family before this generation lived in them. So I say all that just because, so that there's people that have always lived in the house beforehand.
Gotcha.
But the house that he grew up in, his parents' house, I think they had done some like construction work or something when he was younger. I'm not real sure, but he distinctly remembers he was home alone, and I think he was in the shower or something, and he heard whistling. And I can't remember which family member it was that was known for like walking around the house and whistling, but it was one of his family members, one of his mom's family members that was known to just walk around and whistle all the time. And so,
right.
Of course, like it freaked him out, but I think
right.
Because they know like it's family, it's like, okay, it's fine. Like whatever. It's just family reunion time, we're good. But so when he moved out of their house, he moved in, him and his brother lived together, and they lived down the road a little bit. Because again, around here, everybody lives on the same street. It's your family.
Oh yeah, I totally understand what you mean.
So they moved down like 500 feet from the parents' house,
right.
This little house.
Right.
And it was their great uncle's house. And so while they were there, they lived there for, I think, 7 years. They lived there the entire time we were dating. So it was 6 or 7 years.
Okay.
But there were several things that happened. Josh was sitting in the den one night, like the living room space, and it was real late. I don't know exactly what time it was, but he was in there playing video games, and his brother was home too at the time. But all of a sudden, from where he was sitting on the floor, there were these loud bangs coming up from the floor. And he thought his brother was in the other room getting aggravated at a video game.
Okay.
Right.
So he walked in there and was like, ha, 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 like, you're getting violent in here. And his brother was asleep, or I think he was, like, laying in the bed or something, and was like, that wasn't me. I thought that was you.
Right.
And so then I think they heard it again, and so they ended up going under the house, like looking under the house, because they thought, okay, this is probably an animal, something.
Right.
And so they went and looked, and there was absolutely nothing.
Oh my gosh.
And I think that happened a couple times, or a few times. I'm not really sure how many times. That never happened while I was there.
Okay.
So I never freaked out from pounding from the floor. I will say one night when I was there, we were in Josh's room, and the lights were off in like the den or the living room space. Okay. And I saw something go past the door. It was a figure, like it was a man. Like I know what I saw. Right. And I thought it was his brother. I was like, oh, Andrew's home from work.
Right.
Josh was sort of like, I don't think he is. And so, we walked around the house. No one was there, but I know somebody passed by the door.
Yeah.
And then they had a dog. Her name was Evie. She was the best golden retriever ever.
Gotcha.
But she would just randomly, like she was very sweet, never got upset, anything.
Right.
And there was one night, Josh heard something, and Evie went to the door and just started, like, snarling and freaking out. And, like, all the hair on Evie's back was standing up.
Wow.
Oh, my God.
And he looked around the house, couldn't find anything, but she kept doing it. And so they never figured out exactly what that was about.
Wow.
And then after Evie passed, I was there, and like I saw something, because she always laid underneath her table in the kitchen.
Okay.
And I had walked in, and I saw this mask. And so I even said, because I forgot she had passed away, so I even said, "Hey, Evie." And then I looked again, and it wasn't there. So I don't know. I mean, with that one, I kind of feel like maybe I was so used to seeing her be there that the mind plays tricks on me. I don't know. But it was not too long after that. I had spent the night, and Josh's brother was home. He was home, and his brother's girlfriend at the time, I think, was there too. And anyway, so we woke up, and the shower was going full blast. Oh. And it had been on for quite a while, because all the hot water was gone.
Oh, my gosh.
And it was just going. And so he thought that his brother had possibly, like, gotten up in the middle of the night or was going to get ready and then fell back asleep or something like that. And,
sleepwalking or something.
Yeah, something similar.
No. So, and so then we started looking around, and so there was the front door of the house, and then there's, like, the back door of the house.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we looked over where the back door is, because the front door was closed and it was shut and everything. But the back door was standing straight open, both doors. Like, there was a door that went to the laundry room and then out of the house. Okay. And both of them were just standing wide open.
Wow.
And we were just like, okay.
Completely, just
creepy,
it's
spooky. Like a horror movie.
I mean, I have a similar story like that myself. I mean, that is just amazing. Hey, Jennifer,
did you look to make sure Ghostface wasn't in the house?
Yeah, honestly, Ghostface, jeez. But no, Jennifer, we are up against the first hour break, and of course, we want to play your new song, Rock This Way, new music now. So would you mind holding over into hour 2 and we can continue this conversation?
No problem.
All right, that sounds good. We'll talk to you in just a bit. Okay, so that was Jennifer Alvarado, and we are now going to NTR Live music and new music now. With her new song, Rock This Way. And then we'll return with more conversation with Jennifer Alvarado. You're listening to Night Talks Radio.
Hey y'all, this is Jennifer Alvarado, and I'm back on Night Talks Radio, bringing you my newest hit single, Rock This Way, right here on NTR New Music Now. And remember to hang out for hour 2 as I continue my conversation with Daniel and Jennifer. Until then, enjoy the music.
Down the track, too scared to look forward, don't wanna look back, like a bird free falling in a neon sky. We were born to take it easy on a sweet slow ride, like a burned out jukebox still plays rock and roll. Your love soothes my soul. We're gonna rock this way to the beat, steady as a drum. We're gonna prove us right and prove them wrong, and we keep on keeping on, like your favorite song playing on the radio and singing out at the top of your lungs. We're gonna rock this way to love. Don't let the sound of your wheels while they're turning ever drive you crazy. You gotta keep on, never stop believing and holding me, baby. Walk this way while you give me a kiss. Can you handle this? We're gonna rock this way to the beat, steady as a drum. We're gonna prove us right and prove them wrong, and we keep on keeping on, like your favorite song playing on the radio and singing out at the top of your lungs. We're gonna rock this way to love. You don't have to cry no more. I'm coming home to you. And oh my, 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 I'm singing this song for you. We're gonna rock this way to the beat, steady as a drum. We're gonna prove us right and prove them wrong, and we keep on keeping on, like your favorite song playing on the radio and singing out at the top of your lungs. We're gonna rock this way. We're gonna rock this way to the beat, steady as a drum. We're gonna prove us right and prove them wrong, and we keep on keeping on, like your favorite song playing on the radio and singing out at the top of your lungs. We're gonna rock this way. We're gonna rock this way. We're gonna rock this way to love.
Want to reach Night Talks Radio? That's easy. Simply dial 1-507-384-9390. Or for first-time callers, just dial 1-507-307-4424. From somewhere in the great upper Midwest, here's Daniel Brewer and Jennifer Gregerson.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Hour 2 of Night Talks Radio. We have Jennifer Alvarado with us, and we're talking paranormal and all kinds of stuff. And we're going to continue that conversation. And, of course, you just heard her new hit single, Rock This Way, on New Music Now. But we have Jennifer still on the phone line, hopefully. Jennifer, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, excellent. My Jennifer, I believe you had a question to ask to kick things off at Hour 2. And real quick before that, we are going to go ahead and open up the call lines. So if there's anybody interested in asking Jennifer Alvarado any questions or have any comments or thoughts or things of that nature, you can call into the show on our nationwide call-in line, which is 1-507-384-9390, or the first-time caller line, which is 1-507-307-4424. And, of course, the chat room is always wide open. Okay, I've said what I needed to say. Jennifer, go ahead.
Yes. So I would just say that this is absolutely crazy. Not so much that that you both experienced and encountered the same thing at the same time, but the connection, and that's what I call cosmic fate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, really.
So that's pretty much all I've got to say right now. Daniel, you want to go on with the rest?
Yeah, that for sure was. It seemed like cosmic fate without question. Now, because of the curiosity that you both have about the unexplained, you guys actually spent your honeymoon touring the city jail, the old city jail in Charleston,
old city jail.
where Levana Fisher was put to her death. Is that true, first and foremost? And then can you tell us what happened exactly, which I think you were just about to.
Yeah. So that was kind of one of our things. Like we got married on October 27th, and so of course, like that's right there at Halloween and all of that. And so we knew we wanted to go to Charleston and Savannah. We were actually going to Savannah to do a half marathon, and I ended up with pneumonia, so I didn't get to do the marathon or half marathon. So we went to the Old City Jail in Charleston, and Lavinia sorry, let me get her name out.
Oh, it's okay.
Wait, sorry. But Lavinia Fisher was the first. I don't know if she was the first female serial killer, but that's what they say.
Okay.
And she was the one that was held there. And basically, if you know anything about that story or don't know, her and her, I think, husband lived on an island near Charleston, and basically they were found guilty of tourists would come through there, like traveling men would come through there, and they would end up and staying at their house, and they would end up poisoning them and basically taking all of their possessions. And
wow, not cool. No. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, and so I guess eventually they were found out and convicted of that. And so, yeah, it's known that she was the first, I guess, woman to be hanged at that place. And so outside of the jail, like, you see where the gallows or whatever they were, where she would have been hung. And so anyway, I've listened to all these different paranormal things, and they talk about that a lot of times she doesn't like women, and so she will like go out of her way to like scratch women or whatever. And so when we went to this tour, I wanted to be in the back of the line because I feel like if anything's going to happen, it's going to happen. Like if you watch any horror movie, it happens to person that's on their own.
Right.
It's wrong. And so like I feel like I need to be in the back of the line because I want to know if something's going to happen.
Right. Very smart. Very smart.
Yeah. I don't know if it's smart. I think
well, yeah. At least you're making an effort. Let's put it that way.
Right word for that. Yeah. But anyway, and so people were laughing at me in line because I'm over there going, I just want to get scratched. And they're like, and here's these other people, and they're like terrified, and I'm like, yes, like let's see what happens.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, we were in the back, and the rest of the group had. So if you go up to the third story of the, and you have to think this jail was, probably
I was going to ask,
years old. Like,
how big?
Like there's places that are fallen in. I mean, from the top floor and stuff like that. So I mean, it's pretty large, but
Okay.
if you compare it to any kind of jail these days, like it would be relatively small.
Oh, right. Real quick, and then I'm going to interject. Just to confirm, she was the first female serial killer.
What happened to her husband?
Okay.
I'm not sure about her husband, but as far as she goes, she was the first.
I think he died in jail or was hung or something, but then I think they left. Maybe she was there a little longer because I'm thinking back in the day they didn't want to be as harsh with women. Maybe, I don't know. Right.
Okay. No, I understand that, but no, that's correct. Yeah, she was the first female in America, mind you, in America.
Yeah.
That was the first serial killer female. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead with your story there.
Maybe she was a witch.
No problem. But so if you go to the 3rd floor, which is the top floor of this building,
Okay.
we weren't allowed in the top portion because so much of it, I think, is like falling in and just in bad.
Just damaged
maybe
and
they
stuff.
fixed it now, but at that point it was quite damaged.
Okay.
And but there's one room in particular up there that would have been, I think, her holding cell.
Oh.
And so people always have said that like around that room is where people would get scratched. And of course, like we couldn't get to that room, but we were near it. So,
Right.
But we were in the back of the line, and we looked up, and there's like a fire alarm, like light next to that room. And all of a sudden, like the light, it was almost like this red light shot out from it. And Josh and I both saw it. And, like, nobody else saw it. Everybody else had gone downstairs and everything. And so, we just took that as, okay, we don't know what that was or what happened, but
that's a warning.
A warning.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, I just wanted to get scratched, but that didn't happen. So, anyway.
I love that. I just wanted to get scratched. Can somebody please scratch me?
Oh my goodness.
Go ahead, Jennifer. I'm sorry.
But yeah, I mean, I think the only thing when you do those tours like that, you get a mixed bag as far as like people.
Right.
And some people are taking it quite seriously, and then some are just
Playing
you go
around,
into the dark rooms and somebody's playing around, and it completely defeats the purpose on everything.
Right.
So that was sort of that, but at least we had that one little thing happen at that one. And so from there, like, it just kind of sparked our intrigue to, like, go and visit other places.
Yeah.
And so in 2020, we actually went to Waverly Hills, which was, it was one of those things on my bucket list. I've always wanted to go see Waverly Hills. I remember even when I was, like, middle school, watching documentaries on stuff about Waverly Hills. So, we went to Kentucky in August of 2020.
Okay.
And our whole thing was to go up there and visit that and do a tour. But we also stayed at the Stillbach Hotel, which is one of the oldest hotels in Louisville.
Okay.
And it's known for, there's one ghost, I guess, in particular called the Lady in Blue. And
Lady in Blue.
Okay.
The Gatsby Hotel.
Yeah, I recall that now. Yep.
The Gangster Hotel.
She was 24, and I think her name is Patricia. She went by Patricia Wilson, but and so the story from the hotel is, Patricia Wilson went to meet her and her, I think, husband or something at the time had gotten in a fight, and they were getting back together, and he died in a car wreck on the way there, and so he never met her. So she threw herself to her death in an elevator shaft. However, like most of these stories, that's not really accurate.
Right.
And so, like, while I was there, I started looking into her too because I wanted to know more about her. And from what I can gather, she went by Patricia Wilson, but she actually was I think her name was like Pearl Ellis or something, and she actually moved from like Oklahoma.
Okay.
And she had left like a bad marriage, I think that, and so basically to take care of herself, a lot of people think that she may have been like a lady of the night, and that something happened with somebody that had hired her out, and that she was actually killed.
Ooh. But wasn't that hotel? I read a little bit about it too, and I was wondering if that was the hotel you were talking about, because you never got back to us on what the name of the hotel was. No, that's all right. Okay. That's fine. But yeah, wasn't it like the Great Gatsby and what am I getting? The Gangster Hotel and stuff, because they had the cigar room and all that stuff.
Gangster Hotel.
Yeah. So if you look back on the Great Gatsby Hotel, it'll actually tell you a lot more about the Lady in Blue. So maybe the Lady in Blue could have been like an escort for the gangsters.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Gotcha. Well, they think that she was actually connected to like the Lieutenant General of the state or something. Okay. Because then I've read an article, and it was from this person who actually has done like all kinds of research on her, and has spent like a lot of his life trying to research her actually to get the full story, and trying to think what this guy's name is. Larry Johnson. And yeah, and so he had looked back at like this whole history, and he said that there was an eyewitness that basically saw her fighting or arguing with, and this happened back in like July 1936, to give you an idea. So this is forever. Okay. But Johnson found articles from a 1955 True Detective magazine with information uncovering a new theory. And somebody had basically said that they saw the lieutenant governor out there arguing with her and thinking that he was down on his luck and couldn't pay her, and so he ended up basically throwing her down the elevator shaft. And then somebody said that because later on the person he was engaged to had also ended up dead.
Wow,
crazy. So could you explain in detail what occurred there when you stayed there and what you actually found?
Yeah, so we stayed in the older part.
Okay.
And basically, I think it's up on the 8th floor is what is considered like the most haunted area or something. But I can't remember which floor we were on. But we stayed in the older part of the hotel. And when we came into the room, because I knew that it was near, I think, the 3rd elevator that she is supposedly seen, if she's ever seen. And so I wanted to stay near that. And when we came into the room, like, everything was fine. It's a really nice room. But I walked into the bathroom, and I went to hit the light in the bathroom, and everything popped. Like, the light popped. Like, it didn't blow out.
Okay.
But they just all of a sudden popped. And it was like, okay. And so I had to, like, flip the switch again, and everything came on as normal, and everything was fine. And so, you know, I set up my camera and everything to see if anything was going to happen. And, of course, like, we didn't see anything. But then, and the lights never gave us, because we stayed a few days, the lights never gave us any other issues. There was no other electrical weird things that happened, anything like that. And granted, like, it's an old hotel. Like, I mean, I think it's like 116 years old. Like, this thing is old. And it's beautiful. Like, absolutely gorgeous inside.
Wow.
But, so, when we were leaving, the day we were leaving, I was just talking to her, talking to the guest. And I was like, hey, you know. I guess, thanks for nothing. I mean, nothing.
Right.
And so I went to the bathroom to make sure I had everything, and the lights popped like one last time.
Oh my
Like
God.
just out of nowhere, the light popped. And I was just sort of like, okay, well, at least that's something. Like, at least that was maybe a goodbye. Like, see you later.
Right.
So, like, I don't know. I don't know that there's really anything other than just old wiring, and it's an old hotel, and, you know, that
Right.
kind of thing. But,
Right.
yeah, I mean, it's a cool place. I definitely would just go check it out. If you're ever in that area, just go check it out. If nothing else, for the architecture inside.
Right. Now, you also did say that you guys did stop at Waverly Hills, did you?
Yeah, our whole mission of that trip was to go to Waverly Hills. Like, that's why we went to Kentucky.
Okay.
And like I said, like that's just a huge thing for me, because I've heard so many stories and watched so many documentaries and paranormal shows on that I was like, I got to go here at some point.
So did you actually experience anything there?
Yeah, so we were on the 3rd floor, and so if you know anything about Waverly Hills, it's 5 stories.
Yeah, just a
and
smudge.
basically,
Yeah.
Waverly Hills Sanatorium is it was actually built to be a school, and I think when they had the tuberculosis outbreak in Kentucky, it ended up having to be converted into this hospital. And so for years upon years, like, that's what it was. It was the tuberculosis hospital. And then I think it was in the 60s, it became a geriatrics facility.
Okay.
And so it was that until, like, I think the early 80s. And it was basically shut down because of just bad conditions and stuff like that.
Yeah. We had something similar like that around here, believe it or not.
Oh, okay. But so it was shut down for that, and then it was bought by somebody who wanted to essentially redo it and make it. He was part of, I don't know what it was, but he wanted to make the tallest Jesus statue, essentially, for this building.
Gotcha.
And the funds didn't come through. And so basically, the building laid just absolutely abandoned for like 20 years. And because he couldn't get this thing off the ground, he kind of let people just, he left it abandoned. And so there was a lot of vandalism that happened. There was those experiencing homelessness, like they were going in and staying there and all of that. And then it was actually bought for like maybe $235,000 by the people that own it now, for them to turn it, and this was like right at 2000, 2001, for them to turn it into what it is for the tours and all that kind of stuff. Right. And their whole thing is that money goes back to trying to keep the building from being condemned and completely demolished.
Understand.
So, so we were on the 3rd floor of this, and you weren't allowed to have lights in there. So, like, the tour guide has a light.
Really?
Worse. Yeah, you're not allowed to have lights because it interferes with anything you may see or anything like that.
Right, I guess
so. You can have small flashlights, but there's certain periods of time that they're like, you turn them off.
I see. Okay.
So we're on the 3rd floor of this group. And again, I'm in the back of the line because if something's going to happen, you got to be in the back.
You want the full view.
Exactly. And so, like, the rest of the group was kind of down this hall because I just like being by myself, apparently. And I'm standing there, and I'm looking at the other end of the corridor, and, like, it's pitch black, but after a while, like, your eyes kind of adjust to some sense of, I don't know. Right. I'm looking down that hallway, and have you ever just known something's, like, watching you and or looking at you or something? And so, and I would hear things, like, I would hear just little movements and stuff. And, of course, like, it's an old building. The windows, there's no windows on this one part of the place. So things get in, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
And so you think about all that kind of stuff. But the whole rest of the group, their focus was the other way because the tour guide was talking and I was ignoring the tour guide. And I'm sorry, that's how I am.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
I make my own path. So I'm looking down through there, and like I know that something's down there. Like I feel like something's down there, and all of a sudden, something like swoops at me, like this dark mass from the ceiling part. Swoops down at me, and I think it's a bat. Like, it had to be a bat, but, I mean, it seemed like the biggest bat in the world, but,
right. It just, please be a bat.
Something at me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, to the point that, like Josh was standing beside me, and I kind of, like, knelt down to the ground, because it was coming at me, whatever it was. And there was a second tour guide that was across from me that also saw me just sort of, like, fall down. And so I watched it, and I thought it went to this room that was open. And so I went over there, and I looked in the room, and she used her flashlight in there, too. And, I mean, there was nothing in there. And so, of course, like, that gives you this, like, uneasy feeling. Because I don't know if y'all have ever done anything paranormal, but I get really dizzy at times in places.
Okay.
Like, it's happened a few times. Like, I remember I toured something that's near our house, or near the house I was growing up, when I was younger, and I got really dizzy in one of the rooms that they've been told me that they've seen stuff happen in.
That almost seems like you have a lot of sensitive energy.
Or vertigo.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Or vertigo.
Right.
Yeah. But so I got really dizzy too. Like I was already somewhat kind of dizzy when we got on that floor, but then I got even more dizzy.
So sensitivity to what you were around is basically what the truth is with that.
Yep.
Maybe. I don't know. I haven't quantified that to figure out if it. Anyway,
she might research into that next.
Right.
Maybe,
Go ahead, Jennifer.
But yeah, so we looked. There was nothing there, and then actually when we got back home, because it was right near a room that they said that this homeless man used to live in, and basically what happened with this homeless man. This was in the late 90s. This group of teenagers came in and brutally, he was living in Waverly Hills, and it was him and his dog. And this group of teenagers came in and brutally killed him.
My God,
and
unbelievable.
Threw him and the dog down into the elevator shaft, and that's where he was found.
Wow.
And so they said that, like, that room, and it was actually the room that everybody was standing at, and the tour guide was talking about it, that things have been seen in that room. But what I was seeing was a room over. And but anyway, when we got home, I was watching I can't remember which show it was, and they talked about this black mass. And, like, they even gave a name to it, which I cannot remember the name to save my life. I tried to figure that out earlier. And
that's okay.
Yeah.
But they talked about that black mass that people have seen a black mass come down, and so I was like, okay. But yeah, then we went up to the 4th floor, and on the 4th floor, the tour guide actually says, will somebody volunteer to walk to the end of this corridor by themselves? And basically, you walk down there, no flashlight, no anything, and you stand at the end. And you're down there all by yourself, because they claim that you may feel things, you may see things, like all of that.
Did you volunteer?
And I did not, actually.
Oh, really?
Because I was feeling, I was so uneasy because of everything on the 3rd floor.
That's understandable.
That I was like, I'm not going. Like, I'm not going. So Josh was like, I'll go. And so I was like, are you kidding me? Because in my head, because nobody else would volunteer. And so he was, of course, like, I'll go.
Right.
And because here's the thing, like, he has experienced things that he is a total skeptic. Like, he's like me in the fact that he's going to try to disprove whatever.
Yeah.
And so he's got to really be thrown for a loop. So he walked down there, and, of course, I'm over there thinking I'm not even going to watch, because if something takes him, I don't know how I'm getting home. And
right.
like I'm just thinking all these things. And so he's down there, and he was down there a good while, and she would say, okay, everybody, let your eyes adjust. And people were saying that they were seeing things like look around the corners of the rooms, and he did see, so I don't know how much you know about Waverly Hills, but they talk about on some of the floors,
a little bit.
balls.
Okay.
Okay, well, you'll see little balls that people have left because there's supposedly a little kid, I think on the 3rd floor, named Timmy, that will throw the ball back to you or roll the ball back to you. But they're all over the place because there were kids up on the 5th floor, too. And so there's balls up there, too. But on the 4th floor, there was this ball in one of the rooms. And, like, he did see that move. Like, he saw that move while he was down there. And, but he didn't feel anything other than just uneasy from being down there in the dark. And, but other people were saying that they were seeing shadows and all that kind of stuff. I honestly can say I didn't see anything, but I also wasn't looking because I didn't want to watch him go into the abyss. So,
right.
So I kind of chickened out and was just like, I just want to know he's back here when he's back here.
Yeah. Now, Jennifer, do you think the paranormal are still here for either the reasons of being stuck, perhaps, or unfinished business, or even purgatory? What are your thoughts on that?
Like I said, going back to like when my grandmother passed away.
Yeah.
Some things happened after she passed away for a short period of time. And so I really feel like that short period of time, maybe somebody is crossing over and maybe there's like this transition. Like I've always thought, because it's hard for me to think that everybody has a soul. And for me, like that soul is an energy. And so when that energy goes out of the body, it goes somewhere.
Right.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, what I was going to just mention real quick is you brought up soul, and I don't want to forget this. You mentioned that the soul may leave the body or things of that nature. There was somebody, I want to say, in the either 1940s or 1950s, and forgive me, but I also don't recall his name, but you can easily look this up if you type in the right thing. But what he did is he did a study of where he was putting people on what are called essentially weight tables. Okay, so, and they were close to death. They didn't have very long. We're talking maybe an hour or two, not even that. So his study was to see if the human body had a soul that departed once that person had passed away. So when the person passed away, he was on the weight table, as I said, and he had it set to a certain balance. The balance, once the person, at the exact moment of their death, the balance of the table went upward.
Wow.
Okay, it literally moved. Okay, not great distances, but an inch or so. And to this day, after reading that study, I'm pretty convinced that's soul leaving your body. So I wanted to hit on that's very a very good possibility.
Yeah.
So there you
Yeah,
go.
so I looked him up. His name is Dr. Duncan McDougall.
Yeah.
And it was 21 grams.
There you go.
From what
There
they
you go.
found, it's 21 grams across the line.
There you go. Yep, that's correct.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to chime in with that.
But yeah, that was in 1907, so that's interesting.
1907.
Yeah.
My gosh, I was way off. Okay. Yeah, like I said, I don't have the information in front of me, but I knew it was something along those lines, that there was some sort of movement to represent that some sort of weight was lost from the body when they passed away. So
Right. Well, right now they're doing on studies or whatever, something about they're studying about to see if your consciousness actually stays with you or if it leaves after
just
you die too.
multiple things
So,
are being studied
yeah.
now. But Jennifer, sorry
Yeah.
to cut you off. You can go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yep.
No, but so my thought is, just like with energy, like I feel like it's an energy, and I feel like if you do something enough times, there's that mark that you make with that energy. So I don't know exactly. I do feel like that there's probably a transition period, especially if, like in my grandmother's case, like I know in my heart of hearts, like I know where her faith was, all that kind of stuff. And so I feel confident that she's in heaven. Like, that's my opinion.
Okay.
But I also know that she wanted to take care of me.
Right.
And so it makes sense that if she was able to kind of look after me for a period of time, that she was going to do that. Like, that's just her.
Right.
So I
So
think
in
in a lot of
sense-
situations, like with Waverly Hills, for example, there could be the situation where there may be just that energy because you have like all of these people who were in the last stages of their life in a lot of cases. And
Right.
probably a lot of them were longing to be able to go back home to their family and all of that. And so there may be a little bit of that that's just trapped in there. But then also, I think that you get into a situation of, and how many of these places have people that are trying to provoke something that's dark or demonic, like come in and made a ruckus of what's there.
Right.
You know, in the case of Waverly Hills, I've read a few things that said that group of kids that came in and killed that man and his dog, and granted, I don't know the guy's name. I don't know if the story's even true. But from what I have read, that group of people wanted to do like a satanic sacrifice, and that's what they were doing. And so if that's true, like in a lot of these situations, like people have come in and because something has been considered haunted or whatever, they may bring in something dark. They may try to provoke something.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I think in those situations, how much of that is really, you know, demons and dark energy and that kind of thing versus a ghost. So yeah, because I believe in spiritual warfare. I said that before. And so if there's a heaven and a hell, like there's good and there's bad, and I think that there's good and evil, and so
Absolutely.
I think it is only natural that you have dark forces.
Right. Right.
I totally agree. Yeah.
Well, in my case, you know, the entities, the ghostly presence, paranormal, ETs, anything, they actually seek onto me, and they have been since I've been little, through my dreams. That's why I said I think your dreams kind of, they tell you something, you know. But they seek through my dreams for help. And this little girl keeps, you know, she's been around in my family's house for years, you know, since I was 9 years old when I moved in. And She tells me that she needs help. She needs to, like, she's lost. And I keep asking her, how is she lost? And she can't explain to me how she's lost, but she keeps saying she needs help. So, I mean, that's why I think sometimes they actually get stuck behind as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Well, and I think, I mean, honestly, like this gets into the whole spiritual thought too, and the whole faith thing. And, you know, for me, I believe my higher power is Jesus Christ and God, okay?
Right.
But I say that only because think of how many people are lost in the world. Like, they're breathing. They have breath in their lungs and they're alive, but they're lost.
Right.
You know,
Absolutely.
their soul is searching for something. So, I mean, there is that thought of, okay, well, where would a lost soul go? I mean, if you haven't accepted God or whatever, a higher power, whatever you want to call it, and you die, what happens? So, I mean, there's all those questions that can come into play.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
a
And
multitude.
and I think we have to wait until it's our time for those questions to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
answered.
I mean, yeah. Honestly, and nobody's going to
They
know
can
the
do
actual
whatever
truth.
research
Yeah,
they want to do, but I don't think
Yeah.
they'll ever find the actual
I
truth.
could sit here all day and say my
Right.
opinion about it, you know. But yeah,
So,
no, I know where you're coming from, though.
So, Jennifer, what are your thoughts on Americans being in an all-time low right now?
All-time low. Yeah.
Of believing in God, like they have lost
Super
their
all-time
faith.
low. What do
I
you
mean, we
think is
talked about
causing
this a little
that?
bit there. I think we've gotten away from just being able to. We so want to know everything, and we want to have control over everything. And I think our fear leads to wanting to have the answers to everything. And I think, like, you know this because you're believers, but faith is beyond what your eyes can see. Faith is about trusting what you can't see, what you can't hear. You have to to trust something that isn't necessarily you can feel and touch it. And so I think in a society where we're so about even with like accolades and success, we want something, we want money, we want something that we can touch and feel and say, this, we have succeeded
Physical,
because
yeah.
we won this award, or we have this house or this car. Like, we're very materialistic in that way.
That's right.
In that we need something to hold in our hands and say that it exists.
Yep.
And so I think that that's part of it. I think that we have gotten away from just being able to have faith in more than what we're able to see with our eyes. And beyond that, I think that everybody searches for purpose. Like, that is one of the main things for people. They want to feel like they have a purpose. They want to feel like there's a point to all this.
Right.
And that they matter. And when you're chasing after things that don't amount to anything in the end, then I think if you lose that hope and you lose that, just that desire and that, I almost call it, that childlike quality.
Yes.
Because, kids, you don't have to prove everything to them.
Nope.
I mean, look at Santa Claus and look at the Easter Bunny and all these other things.
Yeah.
Kids are able to imagine and dream and all that. And so I just think that life has gotten to this place of, like, we want to see physical proof to be able to believe it. And in turn, it's hurt us because we think that we're gods of our own life, and we think that we are the reason for our success. And hear me, like, yeah, you got to work hard. You need to be a good person and not, beat everybody up and be a jerk. But with that said, like, there's also a lot to life that is not in our control. I mean, that's just my opinion, but like there's a lot to life that's not in our control, and you have to get to this place of humility, I think. And
oh yes,
I mean, we're a very prideful society at this point, so
without
I think
question.
There's all these elements.
Yeah, I totally understand what you mean. I mean,
totally
first and
agree.
foremost, I may have mentioned this earlier to you prior to the show, but the people need to believe in something, regardless. For instance, we believe in God, but somebody has to believe, so they know that they have a purpose, that there is a meaning to why they're here, and that we're not just say science is simply going to turn into dust, and when it's over, that's it. There was no purpose. If people were to find that out to be the truth, it would be nothing more than pure chaos to know that you were here for nothing. So that goes right along with believing as well. But I agree, is that you have to have something in your hand. You have to have something physical nowadays to believe in it, or that you can see it in front of you, or whatever have you. That's how society is now ran, and it's hurting us.
That's kind of how you are, though, isn't it, Daniel? With your agnostic.
It's agnostic for me. Is I believe in a higher power, and I don't have enough. It's similar to what she is speaking, Jennifer. Is that I do not have enough proof to come out and say, that, God is absolutely 100% real, okay?
Right.
And in no way am I trying to offend anybody.
No.
I am just stating the fact from my own research, my method is that I certainly do believe in a higher power. I don't believe that we just came about and that's it. I believe that it is God. Of course, and like I said, the key word believe. I believe that it's God, but I do not have that. I wouldn't make a bet in Vegas with it, to put it in terms like that. So that's how I feel.
So,
a lot. Well, hold on. So a lot of people, when they say they're agnostic, of course, you right away get the confusion with atheism, which is I am completely. No.
Yeah, no, I know that there's a
right. So
But
no, it's similar to what you said. It's so physical, but from my point of view, I am very I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but intelligent about it. I got to research it. I got to find out. I must know. I know there is something. I don't know exactly quite yet what.
Right. Maybe
And
those
that's
are
honestly.
Go ahead.
Maybe that's what some people in the world, maybe they're not losing faith. It may seem like they're losing faith, but maybe that's what they're kind of leaning toward, is that they just don't have enough evidence.
Well, let me see what Jennifer, you were saying something. You keep go ahead with your.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. I am very analytical. Like I said, I want to prove something. I want to see something.
Right.
I think what helped me, honestly, was everything I experienced with my grandmother. Because I think everybody, no matter what you believe, at some point you have questions.
Oh, yeah.
You have doubts. And I think that honestly, I think God understands that, and I think He can appreciate that.
I think the same way. Absolutely.
So I get it. I get that comes up. But for me, I think that happened at a time in my life where I sort of was trying to figure out my faith, because I've always looked at, it's very easy to have your grandparents' faith or your parents' faith.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The difference is until you have that relationship and that encounter for yourself where you can explain it, but you know that it had to be God that showed up.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
Until you have that, you have those questions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And even then, after you've had that experience, you have those questions. But like I said, for me, I think that everything that happened with my grandmother really helped cement my faith to where I was able, because I've always wondered, well, where was God in this? Or where was,
right.
Why did this happen or whatever? All my questions of why.
Mm-hmm.
And I finally got to a place in my relationship with him that, and there's a difference. There's religion and there's relationship.
Yes.
And I think that that's part of it too with society today, is that we're so quick-paced and we want results and we want them as fast as we can get them.
Right.
But with
gosh, yeah.
any relationship that counts, you've got to put time into it to know somebody, to know beyond a shadow of a doubt that something is good and that someone means well and loves you and whatever. The only way to know somebody loves you is if they're spending time with you and actually giving you what you need and listening to you and all of that. So the same happens with our relationships with God.
Mm-hmm.
And so with society, if everybody's doing their own thing and they're little gods of their own world and they're worried about what they're worried about because everybody's trying to do the best they can,
Right.
there's not a time there to have that intimate time to actually get to know God and get to know your purpose and what God is trying to speak to you. And so I think that that's part of it too. And so I completely understand where you're coming from with the questions and all of that. I get that. And I think the more, honestly, I think the higher your intelligence, the more questions you have.
Exactly.
Because you want to understand how things work. And if your brain cannot comprehend it and wrap around it, then it's like, well, wait a minute.
Yeah.
But I think that's where you also have to come from a humility standpoint, because it clearly says in the Bible that his ways are not our ways. It's beyond our understanding.
That's true.
And that's something that I had to get to when I was trying to draw conclusions and say, well, why did this happen like this?
Right.
Well, it doesn't matter if it doesn't compute in my head, because, it tells us in Romans that he uses all things for the good of those who love him. And so if he uses all things, then that means he can use the darkest points of your life that you look at and you think, God, why did I have to go through that?
Yep.
Like, he can use those trials and all of that and turn it around for good.
Yeah. I agree completely.
I have a question, and we spoke about this earlier as well, before the show. Obviously, we know where you stand, but do you? What do you think Armageddon is, or what it would be? How would that happen? How would one know that that's happening?
I know that a lot of people think we're in the last days and all of that. And honestly, I can appreciate that statement. You see, because it tells us in Revelations that, people, they turn away. They care only about themselves. Everything that you see with society.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the point that I was trying to get to, is that everything that's happening now it's almost like it's been directly taken out of the Bible. And of course, this is leading to the futurism question, but go ahead.
Yeah. Well, so I think, I think you get, I don't think that it's necessarily a hatred for God as much as it becomes just an apathy of people.
Yeah,
that people just don't
an absence.
Like, everybody just is just doing what they do, and I think that is where things just completely fall apart.
It just spirals out of control. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's sort of what I see. I don't know as far as Armageddon and all of that what I think. I think that hopefully if it's the last days, hopefully I've done everything I need to do.
Yeah, you know.
That's all I can say, and I think that's how I live my life. Is just have I done what He's asked me to do? Have I been obedient? Have I tried to be a good person? And here's the thing: we all have our bad days.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Rage.
Oh yeah.
Like there's bad days.
Yeah.
But I think are you at the end of the day thanking Him for the day? Are you trying to seek to be a better person? And so I think it's those kind of things. Like if you're constantly asking yourself those questions and you do have that piece of your heart that here's my thing.
Mm-hmm.
I would rather believe and have faith and live my life as if I have faith and trust in God.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And then at the end of my life, if there really is nothing, I don't care. Like, at that point, it doesn't matter.
Right.
But at least I've lived my life trying to be the best I can be, and hopefully I have made life a little better for people around me. And I think that's the thing. I think that people waste so much time debating all these things that it doesn't matter. Like, I'm not saying that Armageddon and all that doesn't matter. That's not what I'm saying.
Right, no, I totally...
But what I'm saying is I don't think the logistics of it matter, because at the end of the day, if you haven't done what you're supposed to be doing and been obedient and all of that, I think that's where you have to worry. Not, is it going to happen on May 12th or what? And I'm just throwing dates out there for anybody.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, you know.
I think
completely understand.
I don't know. Like, I think that's where I stand with it. It's just, I want to focus on being the best person I can possibly be.
Yeah.
And I hope everybody's listening to what you're saying right now, by the way. Everybody out there. Exactly what you're saying.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. It's very good advice.
You know, I understand where you're coming from, too, about living, you know, every day as best as you possibly can. Knowing that there is no guarantee for tomorrow, say, and attempting to try to give back or do good for somebody else and things of that nature. Because I came to that a little bit, of course, in my own way. Everybody's unique and different, but. When I had my surgery on my toe, because I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do with my diabetes, when I lost my toe, you know, you know, it's just a little toe. It was my second toe, my phalanx, to be honest with you. And you wouldn't think at all, like, okay, it's just a little toe, right? Yeah, she's very. My Jennifer is very strange.
It's called Toby.
Okay.
My dog's name is Toby.
See what I'm saying? We all have a connection now. This is great. Okay, but no, what happened is that I went into the situation thinking, well, you know, okay, I'm going to be missing half of this toe, like not a big deal whatsoever. But after the surgery, while I was sitting here, because I had to be, essentially, I couldn't move for like 4 weeks, you know. So I was in position, I couldn't go out nowhere, I couldn't do anything, you know. And I'm a person that is very active, that goes out and runs errands and blah, blah, blah. So I was sitting here for 4 weeks, and it was so crazy. It crept up on me like this horrific depression, anxiety, anger, just that I was missing my toe. You
Believe me, I wanted to throw a pillow at him several times.
I mean, I was bad. Like, it was like super bad. But what I'm saying, what the whole point is that I'm saying that after I got better and I was able to walk, and you know, my toe healed up, and I changed my ways. I felt 10 times better. And then I also realized though that, wow, like I need to cherish every single day. I can't believe that I sat there then and prior to then, just like always automatically assuming like tomorrow is like a given, like, taking it for granted.
Right.
And that, how you said you had eye-openers, experiences, that was mine, and it's absolutely true. You need to live every day like it could be your last day, and that's what did it for me. A small half of a toe.
Live today like there is no tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. So, now, real quickly, I know we're coming close to time here. Now, you had mentioned that you believe in God, obviously.
Yes.
Now, do you believe that there is one God, or are there many gods in different forms to different people? But it's the same God, perhaps, things like that.
I believe that, every religion has their thoughts. For me, yes, I believe there's one God.
Okay.
I believe that people obviously worship other gods, but yeah, I believe that there's one God.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, so that's a question I tend to try to ask people. Like I said, I know we're running close here to time, but there's still so many things I want to ask you. We're going to have to get you back on the show for sure, especially when Josh is all set and ready to go. I hope, by the way, you're following the regimen that I recommended, because it helped me 100%.
Okay.
I was sick for days and weeks on end, and I started doing that, and it almost as if it was magic. I was, boom, back to normal within a couple days. Real quick, though.
Quick, before we go, Jennifer, just two quick questions. One is, what would you say to anyone who is deciding to go in the same direction of music as you did?
Yes. So let's do music questions quickly.
Honestly, the biggest thing is don't give up. There's been plenty of times that I wanted to give up. That's honestly how I ended up here. I was ready to give up, and I decided, okay, we're going to try this thing one last time.
Yep.
You're going to have hard days. And here's the thing, if it's worth having, it's going to be difficult, and it's going to be a challenge.
Exactly.
So, and I think part of that is to prove how much it actually means to you, because if it doesn't mean much, the first little challenge, you're going to be done, and you're going to just say, I can do this. I can do something else that's easier. And so for me, I've always been about doing the thing that is the hardest for me, I think.
Yeah.
And music has always been the most challenging. I've always run into roadblocks and people that have spoken really negative things over me, and just all of that. And where in other facets of life, it's been super easy. But I think that when you're on that purpose, you're on that purpose path, you're going to run up against hardships and all of that. And I think it's supposed to make you stronger. It's supposed to help you be grateful for the good times and for the successes. But it's also supposed to help you have an endurance and a perseverance.
Right.
And also I think it's supposed to give you a story so you're able to tell somebody else and encourage somebody else to not give up in the midst of it.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
That's so
and it's quite similar to what we're doing here at NTR.
Right.
Is oh my gosh, I can tell you there was multiple days where I wanted to literally throw the computer outside and have it ran over by a semi truck, and I'm not even joking. That's how upset I'd be, and I just said to myself, I am done. I am just done. That's it. It's over. And then, of course, I would, mosey on back the next couple of days and restart again. But the key is to not give up. That's absolutely correct. Anything you do. Yeah, anything you do. The passion. If you have a passion for it, you dream about it. That's what you're like. You must stick with it. So it goes. It seems to be the same in both industries. Now, what? Final question here. I guess I suppose. What is your ultimate goal? By doing the music that you do, let's put it this way: when you pass, and God forbid, when you pass, what do you want to leave behind? When I talk about Jennifer Alvarado in the future, what am I going to say about you?
Your legacy. What do you want your legacy to be?
I've always said that I want my purpose to be on this earth to be a friend to somebody, and to help somebody feel like that they have a friend when they have sat there and felt like they are alone and have no one, that I can be that friend, whether it be through a song and lyrics and whatever, or actually in person, to be there for somebody. Like I think that's the biggest thing, because I know I had times in my life where I felt very alone. And luckily, I also had my faith that sort of helped with that loneliness.
Right,
but,
right.
So there's so many people out there that don't have that. And so for me, music was one of those ways where I would listen to what other people had written in songs. And I remember sitting in my room at 11 years old and thinking, this person gets it. This person understands where I'm coming from. And so I think in the same regard, like, I want to be that for somebody else. If not with my music, then with me as a person, just be there for somebody.
Right.
So you want to kind of tell a story through your music?
Yeah.
Good.
Definitely.
Good.
I want to have a connection to the music.
That's awesome,
and
yeah.
There's a lot of people that actually make it big forget a lot about other things, what really matters, how they got started and everything, and they make the fame kind of cloud them.
Here's the key that I've learned now that we've grown just a smite on NTR and this and that, in that we've made connections with, say, you and the White House and things like that. I'm starting to understand better, because when you look at people that are on the verge of making it, whether it be music or radio or whatever have you, you just see what you see on media, for example, pictures, magazines, things of that nature. And most of the time you're like, oh, look at these people, you know what I mean? But when you actually, I would say, grow together in your individual industries, you realize how normal and people are that are in these industries and whatnot, and that's really been proven to me, like I said, by you, Jennifer, and Chris, for example, and that. So it's.
I do think in the real world, like in Hollywood and stuff, I think that's one thing they forget.
Yeah, the majority of Hollywood, obviously.
They forget a lot of that in Hollywood, and stuff. So if you were to ever make it really, really big and have to move to...
Which I believe you will.
Which I definitely do too, yes. And you'd have to move to Nashville.
Yeah.
Are you just saying Nashville, in particular?
In general, let's just say,
You make it in country, you must move to Nashville.
I'm just saying, okay. Right. And you were offered to move to Nashville, okay. Would you move?
So we've actually talked about moving to Nashville some, and the reason for that is, as far as songwriting, it's much easier to. Well, I believe it is much easier. To be able to get connected and to do a lot of the shows, the songwriter rounds, all that kind of stuff, if you're connected with that group of people. And the only way to really get connected is to live there and to just come. to completely throw yourself into it.
Right.
And so we've talked about it. Right now, I'm doing a lot of what I want to do here, and so we want to stay around family. I think no matter where I go, however, I want to keep a group around me that speaks truth to me, and I think that's when you're talking about people forget where they came from, and they forget just all of that. I think that it's very important to have people around you that have seen your worst days and have seen your best days and have seen everything between and have your best interest at heart, because those people aren't going to be the yes men that just cater to all your whims. Because let's be honest, like, humans have weird desires sometimes, and humans can be prideful.
Right.
And if you start thinking that everything is about you, and you have people around you that makes it all about you, then it is very difficult to maintain humility and a sense of just being normal. And so I think for me, no matter what, like, I feel like God has put people in my life that do call me out. I mean, Josh will be the first one to call me out if I say something that that he thinks is conceited or prideful or whatever.
Really? My Jennifer is the same way, and very quickly.
Right. So, I think as long as I have those people in my life, and I want to keep them in my life, like, that's what you have to have. You have to have truth speakers, but you have to know the difference between haters and truth speakers.
People that are honest. The big difference between fake and honest. Yeah, exactly. I totally understand that. It's.
I think you're coming from a very good roots. You've got some very strong roots, and I think you should stick with your roots or roots or whatever.
Routes. Look at these routes.
You make fun of me. Come on. You're the one who's got the Canadian A over there.
I worked for the railroad in Winnipeg, so it kind of sticks with me. If I had $1 for every time I was asked that question. But anyway, no, the thing I was going to say is that another key factor is listening. So what I have done, for example, with you...
What was that again?
Exactly. With you, Jennifer, is that, I've listened to everything that you've said, and it's gone into my brain, and, I will pick and choose, what you have said, but I will always take into consideration what you have said about things, what others have said about things, and you put them together, and this and that, and that's how you improve yourself. That's how you move forward. I never forget that. I actually, believe it or not, you just spoke about the railroad. I learned that from the railroad because as a trainee conductor many, many moons ago, you were told never talk back to your senior engineer, the person that drives the train, because if you do, or try to act smarter than them, or bring out the rule book, they will not teach you the ways at all, and they will tell you to look out the window and not even look at them the entire 7 to 8 hour trip. So I learned to listen very, very well. And from that, I learned how to do that particular job very well. And it has now moved on into other parts of my life. Like, it's almost every aspect of my life, to be honest with you, including radio and things like that. But listening is a very, very key part too.
I will tell you, Jennifer, he's like a human sponge. And, you've seen his picture and everything like that. With him saying that he takes on every information and stuff, that would probably be why he has an egg-shaped head.
Yeah, that's rude. Okay,
No,
but no,
I
I'm just
love you.
that's it. But
That's a little love. That's what that
no, I
is.
don't. You're being truthful. See, that's not fake. That's being truthful. So I got to do that. All right, Jennifer. Thank you so much for coming on the program. And again, we want you back because we didn't get through a majority of the questions that we wanted to discuss, and as well, we want Josh to be much better and able to come on as well. But before we go, can you tell everybody where they can go for your music and bios and things like that? Everything about Jennifer Alvarado.
Yeah, definitely check out my website, jenniferalvarado.com. There'll be links to all my other socials on there, but Instagram is at Jennifer Alvarado Music. Let's see, my Twitter handle is Guitar Diva 12, and Facebook is /JimMusic12. But yeah, definitely check those out. And then music-wise, I'm on all digital platforms. There's Spotify, Apple Music. You can definitely follow me on there. I'd appreciate it if you would, especially with this new EP coming out on the 24th. I kind of need some pre-saves. So,
yeah, that's right. Okay. Okay, so there you go. Yeah, anybody that's curious in further learning about Jennifer, there you go. So, okay, yes, we will let you back to tend to Josh there, make sure everything's okay. And we will definitely be in touch, my friend.
Okay, sounds good. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Have a good
thank
night.
you.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, everybody. So, Jennifer, thoughts on having Jennifer Alvarado as a guest and our musical act?
You know, I really loved her song. I always love her songs. I mean, and White House. White House does amazing songs too. So I can't.
Oh, they certainly do.
I can't wait to hear them next week.
I was so disappointed again. I've learned not to be as negative as I used to be, or whatever have you. Don't get me wrong. I'm always going to be bold. I'm always going to tell you the truth on what I think. I've just learned to do it better. In better ways, but I was so disappointed that we weren't able to play Heat this weekend, which of course is the brand new release by the White House, and I don't ever want that to happen again.
No,
you know,
and I was kind of disappointed that we weren't able to play any of our shows this weekend except for
besides tonight's. Obviously, this was planned.
Right.
This was going to be episode 3
and stuff like
of
that.
season
But the
2.
way I see it, and everything is, we do not make other people's decisions. I mean,
no, we don't.
We can't.
We can't control them.
Exactly. We can't control how a guest wants to be and everything like that.
Yeah,
I mean, if they mysteriously have a headache a few minutes before we're supposed to go on, or they can't realize that it's radio and we may run a little bit behind schedule and everything like that. I mean,
essentially, we're all learning here. Don't get me wrong. We're not blaming anybody, any one individual. God knows that we make plenty of mistakes ourselves, and we hope to improve on those things with every show that we put out, regardless. But there are indeed also other factors that assist in causing issues for us.
Well, number one thing is that we don't have a very well upgraded system like a lot of other radio shows do and stuff like that. So we
will be solving that issue very soon. So none of you will have to worry about issues as far as equipment and studio things. So that is definitely on the horizon. A much better broadcast and presentation. But yes, we have definitely gone over time just a smite tonight. But we had a great conversation with Jennifer Alvarado, and we plan to have her back. Have her and her husband Josh back sometime soon, so we can discuss further of what we were talking about, which of course was the paranormal. We were talking about spirituality and God and heaven and hell and things of that nature, which is something that I think needs to be discussed. It needs to be put in the open and talked about, because right now I know that Jennifer, there's subjects that she prefers not to speak about, but the thing that I would like to say about the whole situation of God, the problem with God not being in America as much as he used to be, it's directly, like I said, I'm bold and truthful. I'm just going to come out and say it. It's directly because of the left, the far left, essentially the socialists in our government who are doing this. They are essentially creating abominations with our children.
Control.
Absolute control. Schools have become, camps, essentially, indoctrination camps for their ways, and it's ruining the United States of America.
But let me just stop you there for a second, Daniel. We do have an interesting guest coming on here next weekend. His name is Philip Kinsella, and he is also a ufologist in the United Kingdom. He will be talking a little bit about ufology over there and what he has experienced as a kid, but he is also wanting to touch base a little bit on that subject of what's going on over here as well.
It needs to be discussed. It needs to be discussed, and it needs to be in the open because the more and more conservatives sit back and allow this to happen to our country, alone, that's a major problem. We need to take a stand. We need to do what we need to do to stop this from happening in our country and losing our core values, our family values, essentially having our rights and freedoms taken away by a simple signature, and this and that. And of course, we still have to worry about the upcoming summer, because God only knows what the left is going to do this time, knowing that in November, the midterms, they are going to be devastated. This is facts, folks. They're going to be devastated at the polls, and conservatives, Republicans, the right, will take back full control of both the Senate and the House. And then we simply have to wait it out until 2024 for the presidential election. And then I can guarantee you that we will have full control of the government once again, and that will come back to bite the Democrats severely in the butt. So there you go. That's what I got.
But we do have, just before you go and everything, I just wanted to tell the listeners out there that not only do we have Philip Kinsella on Sunday night, we have on Saturday night Stephen Ward, who is going to actually discuss with us the Mothman and the research he has done on that.
That's something that's been very intriguing to me for a very, very long time. As a matter of fact, I was turned on by the Mothman because of Art Bell, which I speak about quite a bit. He's the one listening to one of his episodes. is what turned me on to that. So the Mothman is quite intriguing to me. So that show is going to be very entertaining, I can assure you of that. All our shows will be entertaining, of course, during Season 2, which will take us into the fall. So, yeah. Now, for the 9th time, I think, we're going to wrap everything up. So, we will be back with you next weekend, and we're going to find a way to probably, I'm assuming, because we're bringing back NTR Daily and also the news that Jennifer was doing on Friday evenings, all brand new. This will be all brand new stuff. But we're going to get the White House and their new song Heat out there, because it's only going to benefit them further by getting that out there to this region, around the country, and the globe via the internet. So we definitely want to try to get them played on one of the daily episodes instead of waiting to put them on a weekend show, perhaps.
Oh, yeah, that'll be interesting. And Astronomical Insights will be coming next week, too?
That's correct. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about that real quick, and then we'll go.
So Astronomical Insights is actually inspired by the listeners, the fans. They actually wrote me and said, hey,
quite a few
why
people.
don't you start a spin-off from NTR about your horoscopes? So with Astronomical Insights, I will be actually talking about our horoscopes, our weekly horoscopes, along with anything that pertains to your zodiac signs, like what color is good for your zodiac, what flower is good for your zodiac, things like that. So it's actually pretty interesting.
All right, that sounds great. Jennifer, we definitely look forward to that. So that about does it for another show of NTR. We want to thank the wonderful Jennifer Alvarado, the great and amazing Jennifer Gregerson, Josh Alvarado, who unfortunately couldn't make it on the show, Spreaker.com, and multiple other popular streaming services, streaming us, NTR, live to you. Jennifer Alvarado Music, and of course, the late and great Art Bell. If it wasn't for him, none of us would be around. And lastly, me, Daniel Brewer, your host and creator of Night Talks Radio. So, until next time, everybody stay safe out there. And remember, they are listening. So long, everybody.